Hello, today's video is an insurance policy. It's going to help you to do what needs to be done if the very worst happens. Now picture the scene. You open the exam paper, read the question, then your guts lurch. Your face goes white as a sheet and you think to yourself, I can't answer this. I do not know enough about the theme of the novel. Now there's two main responses to that. First response, not uncommon, not unreasonable, is panic. You think, do you know what, it's my assumption, I am really up the junction. And with your adrenaline redlining in your head, you dash off pages and pages of drivel. That's one response. The second response, the more prudent response, is this. You take a moment and think, what can I do with the little I do know about this theme or idea? And the reason I say that is because last year, so many of my students, they did this section B on Christmas Carol, and they reckon that they secured their spankingly good grades by taking very slight, very piddlingly small details from Dickens's novel and parlaying them into winning paragraphs. Now, this is the question from the 2017 exam. This was slapped in front of students last year by the examiner, like the dead-eyed sadist he is. Explain how children are portrayed elsewhere in the novel. In your answer, you must consider who the children are and what life is like for these children. Now, hopefully, you're looking down the barrel of that question. Horrible question though it is. The first idea that pops into your head is the idea of Tiny Tim. Tiny Tim. And I tell you what, I've done a great video on Tiny Tim. Check it out sometime. It was going to help you to write a deliriously good paragraph or two in response to this question. But as well, you know, one kick-ass paragraph isn't going to bring home the gold, is it? You need to aim to maintain that standard of 3 to 5 paragraphs. So, what I'm going to do today is just take two dinky details, and from such small acorns will a mighty oak of our paragraph be built. Now, the first paragraph I'm going to do in real time with you, and I appreciate that's going to get old real fast. So the second paragraph, I've pre-prepared that. It's one I made earlier. I'm just going to tonk it in front of the camera so you can gawp at its glamour and its goodness. But on to business, on to the first dinky detail. The first dinky detail, and again, this was used by one of my girls last year, is this. Dinky detail one that we can use to forge a response to this horrible question. And it's this. It's the fact that Martha, who is Bob Cratchit's daughter, works very hard. And again, piddling small detail, we're going to parlay it into something beautiful. Now, I don't know if you remember in stave 3, Martha, we learn, she's exhausted. It's Christmas time and she plans to sleep late on Boxing Day because of the long hours, the hard graft, the hard work that she endures at the factory. I don't know about her pay, but I can't imagine she's pulling down some sort of Hollywood salary either. So, why give a tuppenny fig about this piddly detail? What can I do with it? What can I do with it in the exam? How can I interpret it? Well, try this for size. Scrooge sees the poor as idle, doesn't he? He sees poverty as self-inflicted. But Martha's experience helps to destroy or undermine or challenge Scrooge's toxic assumptions. So there's an idea. What we're going to do now is make like Rumpelstiltskin and spin these strands into paragraphs of gold. Before we do that, however, just a little bit of guidance on writing fantastic paragraphs. I guess you can whittle all the advice in the world down to 2 words. For section B, Christmas Carol questions, you need to show assurance and perception. And by this I mean, because I appreciate that needs clarified in plain English, it basically means write well and interpret appropriate evidence effectively. Assurance, write with assurance or confidence or competence. And perception, make sure you make some sort of intelligent interpretation on the back end of the evidence that you show. There we are in plain English then. Assurance and confidence basically means you're going to get high marks if you can write well in response to this question and interpret appropriate evidence effectively. That's okay. So we're going to start with in stave 3. You don't have to. I always think if you can, it shows a knowledge and understanding of the text if you can cite the actual part of the novel where you're pulling your evidence from. In stave 3, what can we say? question about children, so I might try and get child in there. Bob Cratchit's child, Martha. Serves to highlight ideas about the poor. I'll tell you what, the poor, it's not bad, but again, because I want to write with assurance and confidence, I'm going to jettison, I'm going to reject poor and say the working class. No, stop that. I'm going to say the proletariat. There's a la-di-da term. Let's hope I spell it correctly. Brilliant. So this character, this child character, is giving some ideas about the proletariat. Now, the question asks to say who the child is. Well, I've done that, box ticks. I've got to tell what life is like for her now. Well, that's going to be my evidence. Can I remember a quotation from the text that will help me here? Can I, heck? What I can do, however, is I can remember things that she says and does. I can kind of paraphrase. As far as the exam is concerned, that is fine and dandy. He appreciates you haven't got a copy of the novel to hand. So, let's refer to the text here. At Christmas dinner with the family, Christmas dinner, comma, and she's moaning about the long hours and the hard work. Martha complains, why not, about she endures at the factory. I can't remember what the factory is. It doesn't matter. So, we've got a point that Bob Cratchit's child links to this theme of the poor, the proletariat, and this is the evidence that we're going to play with. This small, dinky detail. Martha works hard. Right, let's interpret this now. We're going to start with the old faithful. This compellingly emphasises, or compellingly conveys, or successfully suggests, or forcefully foregrounds, using an evaluative adverb, never hurts, and conveys, foregrounds, emphasises. These are nice ways to launch into your explanation. This compellingly conveys to the reader, and God help you all, if you don't mention the reader. Examiner insists on that at Edexcel. Now, how can I frame that explanation about it ruining Scrooge's views on the poor?
Scrooge's assumptions, his views about the poor. The poor being lazy. That's where I think it goes mine, doesn't it? So I might as well put in the idle poor.
Oh, wrong. Wrong's not bad. I think flawed is upscaling my vocabulary somewhat, so we'll talk that in there. Are flawed. And I'm going to develop that. How can I develop that point? Well, I suppose if Scrooge is realising it's not the poor that are to blame for their plight, he's realising it's the brutes, the dead-eyed fiends that run the factories, the employers are responsible for the misery inherent in poverty. So I might add a little detail there. Moreover, nice connective to kick that off. I'll be honest, folks, to there, blissfully happy with that paragraph. All I'm doing now is adding value, pushing for those 8s and 9s by giving a kind of deeper interpretation. So moreover, it is implied the heartless nature of employers. It appears that heartless employers, the heartless bourgeoisie, that's that high level term for the kind of the ruling class, the ones who own the factories, the heartless bourgeoisie, which I hope I spelled correctly, are to blame for the poor's plight. Bash. Okay, not bad. Let's have a look at that question. Explain how children are portrayed. I suppose it's not going to hurt in my last line if I can just loop back to the question by name-checking children. This is how we do that. Children then. I always find that then thing is a useful way of summarising. Children then serve here, i.e. Martha, to challenge Scrooge's prejudices. Just a little line looping back to the question. Did I have to tonk it in? Maybe not, but I just think it keeps my response task focused. Okay, well, next task, we're going to look at a second dinky detail. And as I say, as promised, I'm not going to bore the ear off you talking through this one, writing it in real time. I'm just going to show you my polished paragraph. I'm going to talk about it very quickly though. Again, it's a tiny diddly Mickey Mouse detail. Dinky detail 2. Looking at children here, aren't we? Scrooge is nice to a boy in Stave 5. You probably recall it. Scrooge breaks the habit of a lifetime at the end of the novel by showing kindness to a boy. I think he calls him a clever boy or an intelligent boy, something like that. Can I remember the quote? No, I can't. Does it matter? Does it heck? As long as I'm referencing the text, that is as good as the quotation as far as the exam is concerned. Right, well, there's our little boy. And I suppose rather than seeing him as a character, it's possible kind of to see him as a cog, really, like a cog in a machine. This is what I mean. What am I honking on about, Mr. Taylor? This is what I mean. Think about the boy as a cog because he's there to perform a function in the novel like a cog performs a function in a machine. And the whole point of this Johnny here is he's just revealing or highlighting how Scrooge's character has changed. He's only there to kind of shed light on the main character. It's a bit like, I don't know if you read your Spider-Man, but Spider-Man, he becomes a superhero because his uncle gets murdered. And what it is, Spider-Man gets his superpowers, he wants to pursue a career in show business, and some robber runs past him. He doesn't bother stopping him. Later on, it turns out this robber has actually killed his uncle, and he realises, I need to be more socially responsible. There's that great line from Spider-Man, isn't there? With great power comes great responsibility. So the kind of situation with the robber character helps the main character to learn that lesson. Is the robber's life important? Not really. We don't really have much interest in what kind of ice cream he likes or whether he's nice to his kids. He's just there to fulfil a function to make Spider-Man appreciate he's got more responsibility now. He's got these superpowers. So, same deal here. This guy's job, his function, is just to show that Scrooge has become a kinder, more benevolent character. Right. So, have a read of that at your leisure. Hopefully it'll blow your mind. Final words then. Well, if the worst happens, you get a horrible exam question. Don't panic. Keep calm, work smart. Take small details you do know and try and think about why they're important or how you can interpret or analyse them fruitfully. And best luck in that exam.